Samuel sat alone in the back of the lecture hall, his laptop open, his fingers typing rapidly as lines of code filled the screen. He wasn't paying attention to the professor's lecture. He had already studied the topic in advance. Instead, he was working on his AI model, a project he had been developing for months. Hilford University was one of the most prestigious universities in the country, filled with students from wealthy families. Samuel, however, was different. He wasn't rich, he wasn't from an influential family. He was here on a scholarship, and for some people, that was enough reason to make him a target.
"Hey, nerd," a voice sneered from the row behind him. Samuel tensed. He didn't need to turn around to know who it was. Dennis, the most popular guy on campus, rich, arrogant, and always looking for someone to humiliate. Dennis leaned over, peering at Samuel's screen. "Still playing with your little computer games?" he mocked. "You really think this AI nonsense is gonna make you rich?" Samuel ignored him, keeping his eyes on the screen. "Don't ignore me, poor boy," Dennis continued. "I heard your mom's a photographer. Must be tough, huh? Barely making enough to survive while we enjoy life." Samuel's hands curled into fists.
He wanted to say something, to fight back, but he knew how things worked here. Dennis was powerful, and standing up to him would only make things worse. Dennis smirked, then reached over and slammed Samuel's laptop shut. "Oops," he said mockingly. "You'll thank me later. Maybe go outside and touch some grass." Laughter filled the hall as Dennis and his friends walked away. Samuel exhaled slowly, unclenching his fists. He opened his laptop again, hoping his work hadn't been lost. At home, Samuel found his mother, Mrs. Lucy, editing photos on her computer. She looked up and smiled when she saw him.
"How was your day?" she asked. Samuel hesitated, then shrugged. "Same as always." Mrs. Lucy sighed and took off her glasses. "Samuel, you can't let them get to you. You're there because you deserve to be. Those boys, they're just afraid." "Afraid?" Samuel scoffed. "Of what?" "Of someone who doesn't need money or connections to be great," she said, smiling. "Your mind is your power, Samuel. One day they'll see it too." Samuel nodded, though deep inside he wasn't sure how much longer he could take it. A few days later, Samuel stood proudly beside his mother, Mrs. Lucy, as she arranged the final set of photographs on the display board. The Hilford University Cultural Festival was one of the biggest events of the year, and Mrs. Lucy had been invited to showcase her work, a moment that meant everything to her. "This is incredible, Mom," Samuel said, admiring the black and white portraits of diverse cultures, emotions, and everyday life. Photography was her passion, and she had spent weeks preparing for this. She smiled, adjusting one of the frames. "Thank you, sweetheart. I just hope people appreciate the stories behind these pictures." As the event began, students and faculty walked through the exhibition, admiring the artwork. Samuel felt proud seeing his mother being recognized for her talent. But then, Dennis and his friends arrived. Dennis strolled into the exhibition hall with his usual cocky smirk. He glanced around at the artwork before letting out an exaggerated yawn. "Wow," he said loudly, catching everyone's attention. "So this is what a poor boy's mom does for a living? Taking pictures of random people on the street?" His friends laughed, and murmurs spread through the crowd. Samuel's body tensed. He clenched his fists, trying to stay calm. Dennis wasn't done. He walked up to one of the largest framed photos, Mrs. Lucy's most prized piece. Then, with a smug grin, he knocked it over. The glass shattered on the ground. Gasps filled the room. Samuel's heart dropped. His mother rushed forward, horror on her face as she knelt beside the broken frame. Dennis feigned innocence. "Oh no," he said mockingly. "My hand must have slipped. I guess not everything in life is meant to stay standing, just like your family." Laughter erupted from Dennis's friends. Samuel's hands shook with rage. "Enough!" Samuel yelled, stepping forward. "You've gone too far." Dennis smirked. "Relax, we're just playing. It's just some pictures, no one cares." Samuel looked around at the crowd. Students, teachers, even some university staff. They were all watching, yet no one did anything. Even the dean of students, who had seen everything, simply shook his head and walked away. Mrs. Lucy placed a hand on Samuel's arm. "It's okay, son," she whispered. let it go. But it wasn't okay. Not at all. The bullying didn't stop after the exhibition. In fact, it got worse. Dennis and his friends started pulling cruel pranks, spilling water on Samuel's seat in the lecture hall, spreading rumors that he had stolen answers for an exam, and even seizing his laptop and deleting a week's worth of work on his AI project.
Samuel had had enough. He decided to report everything to Professor Martins, one of the senior lecturers at the university. "Professor, I need to talk to you," Samuel said, his voice tense. Professor Martins looked up from his desk. "Yes, Samuel. It's about Dennis and his friends. They've been harassing me for months. They ruined my mother's exhibit, deleted my work, and—" Professor Martins sighed, shaking his head. "Samuel, boys will be boys. Don't take it so seriously. They're just playing with you." Samuel felt his stomach tighten. "Sir, this is not playing, it's harassment. They humiliated my mother in front of everyone." Professor Martins leaned back in his chair. "Listen, I understand how you feel, but you need to be smart about this. You know Dennis's father is one of the university's biggest donors. Even the dean was there that day and didn't do anything. What makes you think I can—" Samuel's breath hitched. "So you're saying, because Dennis's family is rich, he can do whatever he wants?" Professor Martins sighed again. "I'm saying choose your battles wisely. You have a scholarship here, right? Don't make things harder for yourself." Samuel stared at him in disbelief. So that was it. No one was going to help him. That night, Samuel sat in his small apartment, staring blankly at his laptop. He didn't feel like coding. He didn't feel like doing anything. He thought about dropping out. What was the point of staying in a place where he was constantly belittled, where no one defended him, where the system was against him? When Mrs. Lucy came home, she immediately noticed something was wrong. She sat beside him, gently placing a hand on his shoulder. "Talk to me." Samuel let out a shaky breath. "I can't do this anymore, Mom. I don't belong at Hilford. No one cares about what happens to me there. Not the students, not the professors, not even the dean." Mrs. Lucy sighed, then took his hand. "Listen to me, Samuel. You do belong there. Do you know why Dennis picks on you? Because he sees something in you that he doesn't have. Greatness." Samuel shook his head. "He's rich. I have nothing." Mrs. Lucy squeezed his hand. "You have your mind, Samuel. And one day, that mind will change the world. But if you give up now, you let people like Dennis win. Are you really willing to let that happen?" Samuel swallowed hard. His mother's words were true, but the pain was still fresh. Could he keep going? Could he really fight back? The next day, Samuel sat alone in the library, headphones on, staring at his laptop screen. His fingers moved mechanically over the keyboard, but his mind was elsewhere. The humiliation, the bullying, the way the system protected Dennis, it all weighed heavily on him. He had promised his mother he wouldn't give up. But how much longer could he endure this? "You're always by yourself." A voice pulled him out of his thoughts. Samuel looked up, startled. A girl stood across the table, her arms crossed, a curious smirk on her face. She had short, curly hair, confident eyes, and an air of fearlessness about her. "Excuse me?" Samuel asked, unsure if she was talking to him. "You," she said, sliding into the chair across from him. "I've been in this school for 2 weeks, and every time I see you, you're either alone or getting bullied by those idiots. You don't talk to anyone. You don't laugh. You just exist. What's up with that?" Samuel frowned. Who was this girl, and why was she so direct? "Who are you?" he asked. "Layla," she said casually. "New student. And you are?" "Samuel," he replied, still unsure how to respond to her confidence. Layla nodded toward his laptop. "What are you working on?" Samuel hesitated. Most people didn't care about his work, but something about Layla made him feel safe. "An AI model," he admitted. "I've been developing it for months. It's designed to predict human emotions based on facial expressions." Layla raised an eyebrow. "That's actually impressive." Samuel blinked. No one had ever genuinely appreciated his work before? Well, no one except his mom.
I mean, I knew you were a nerd, she continued with a playful grin, but I didn't know you were that kind of nerd. Samuel let out a small chuckle, the first in a long time. Layla leaned forward, resting her elbows on the table. So tell me, Samuel, what's your deal? My deal. You're clearly smart, but you walk around like life has already defeated you. What's your story? Samuel hesitated. He wasn't used to people wanting to know him, but for some reason, words started spilling out. I live with my mom, Samuel started. She's a photographer, a great one, but we don't have much. Layla listened intently. My dad left when I was 5, he continued. One day he just packed his things and left. No explanation, no goodbye. He never looked back. Layla's playful expression faded into something more serious.
That sucks. Samuel nodded. My mom raised me alone. She worked crazy hours, took on extra jobs, did everything she could to make sure I had a chance at a good education. I got a scholarship to Hilford. She was so proud. His voice grew bitter. But this place, it's not what I expected. People like Dennis think they own the world. The professors turn a blind eye. Even the dean looks the other way, and he sighed, shaking his head. I don't know how much longer I can take it. Layla was silent for a moment. Then she leaned back in her chair, arms crossed. First of all, she said, Dennis is an insecure brat with too much money and not enough brain cells.
Second, you're stronger than you think. Samuel looked at her, confused. What do you mean? Layla smirked. You survived everything they threw at you. You didn't break. That's strength. Samuel didn't know what to say. No one had ever spoken to him like that before. Layla stood up, grabbing her bag. Look, I have to go, but let's hang out sometime. Maybe you can show me more of your AI stuff. Samuel hesitated. Why do you care? Layla grinned. Because you're interesting. And maybe, just maybe, you're worth more than you think. And just like that, she was gone. Samuel sat there for a long time, staring at where she had been.
For the first time in a long time, he didn't feel so alone. Over the next few days, Samuel and Layla started spending more time together. Layla was different. She wasn't afraid of anything. When Dennis and his gang walked past them in the cafeteria throwing insults, she didn't even flinch. Ignore them, she would say. They're not even worth the energy. She asked questions about his AI projects, genuinely interested in his work. She pushed him to showcase his skills, telling him he had something special. But there was something about her that didn't add up. She was new, yet she seemed too comfortable in the university. She was bold, but too sharp for someone who had just arrived. One day, as they walked across campus, Samuel asked, "Why did you transfer here?" Layla smiled. "Let's just say, I have my reasons." He could tell she was hiding something, but it didn't bother him much. He was just grateful he finally had someone to talk to at school. One sunny afternoon, Samuel sat at the back of his class, staring at his laptop screen. He had spent months perfecting his AI model, fine-tuning its ability to analyze emotions through facial expressions. It was his passion, the one thing that made him feel alive in a place where he felt like he didn't belong. That was why, when Professor Ethan, the head of the AI department, made an announcement, Samuel barely processed it at first. This year we are selecting one student to represent Hilford University in the National AI Challenge, Professor Ethan said. This is a prestigious competition, and the winner will receive a full scholarship for a master's degree in AI development. The classroom buzzed with excitement. Students whispered to each other, already making their guesses about who would be chosen. Then Professor Ethan looked directly at Samuel. For this year's competition, we have selected Samuel Lucas. He has been our best student in this course, hence he is the most qualified person to represent us in this department. The room went silent. Samuel's eyes widened in disbelief. Him? A few students clapped, but most were shocked. Samuel barely spoke to anyone. He wasn't the most popular student, and yet he had been chosen. Dennis, sitting at the front of the class, turned around slowly.
His smirk disappeared, replaced by something darker, anger. Samuel gulped. He knew this wasn't over. Later that day, as Samuel packed his laptop into his bag, Dennis and his friends approached him. "You," Dennis sneered. "Of all people, you got picked, a pauper and an insignificant nerd." Samuel ignored him and tried to walk past, but Dennis blocked his way. "You think you're special, don't you?" Dennis scoffed. "Because you know how to type a few lines of code." Samuel gritted his teeth. "I worked for this, Dennis. You wouldn't understand." Dennis chuckled. "Worked for it? No, you just got lucky." Samuel clenched his fists but said nothing. He had learned that arguing with Dennis never ended well. Dennis stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Enjoy your moment, poor boy, because it won't last." Samuel walked away, but he felt a knot forming in his stomach. He should have known. Dennis wasn't going to let this go. Later that night, Samuel sat in his dorm room, running the final tests on his AI model. Everything was perfect. He had never felt prouder of something he created. It was his chance to prove himself, his chance to show that he belonged at Hilford University. A sudden knock on the door made him frown. Before he could react, the door swung open violently. Dennis and two of his friends. Samuel's heart dropped. "What are you doing here?" Dennis smirked, stepping inside as his two friends blocked the doorway. "Just came to see how our genius boy is doing before his big day," Dennis said mockingly. Samuel immediately reached for his laptop, sensing danger. Too late. Dennis lunged forward, snatching the laptop out of Samuel's hands before he could react. "Give it back, Dennis!" Samuel shouted, panic rising. Dennis ignored him. He turned to the center of the room, where a large plastic bowl of water sat on the table. Samuel had been soaking his clothes earlier. Samuel's breath caught in his throat. No, no, no. Before he could stop him, Dennis tossed the laptop into the water. A loud splash echoed in the room. Samuel froze, watching in horror as his laptop sank, bubbles rising to the surface. The only device with his AI project. His only chance at winning the competition. Destroyed. Dennis turned to him, grinning. "Oops." Samuel shoved past him, plunging his hands into the water, yanking the laptop out. Water dripped from the edges. The screen was completely black. Samuel's hands trembled as he pressed the power button. "Nothing." Dennis laughed. "You really thought you were going to win? Stay in your place, Samuel. This is our school." Samuel clenched his jaw, his entire body shaking with rage. You're a monster!" Dennis leaned in. "And you're nothing." He walked out, his friends laughing behind him. Samuel sat in the dark, staring at his lifeless laptop, his mind blank. Everything was gone. His months of hard work, his one chance at proving himself. Gone. A knock on the door made him flinch. He didn't answer. The door opened anyway. Layla. She took one look at him and immediately knew something was wrong. "What happened?" she asked, stepping inside. Samuel didn't say anything. He just pointed to the waterlogged laptop. Layla's expression darkened. "Dennis." Samuel nodded slowly. His voice was barely a whisper. "It's over." Layla grabbed the chair across from him and sat down firmly. "No, it's not." Samuel let out a bitter laugh. "Layla, I have no laptop, no backup. The competition is tomorrow." Layla's lips curled into a smirk. "Good thing I have one." Samuel blinked. "What?" Layla pulled her bag onto the desk and unzipped it, pulling out her own laptop. "It's not as fast as yours," she admitted, "but it's good enough." Samuel hesitated. "But I don't have my project files anymore. It'll take weeks to rebuild everything." Layla crossed her arms. "Then it's a good thing we don't need to rebuild everything." Samuel frowned. "What do you mean?" Layla opened her laptop and typed something quickly. A screen popped up, a hidden backup drive. She turned the screen toward him. "Last week I copied your AI model, just in case something like this happened." Samuel's mouth fell open. You saved my project." Layla grinned. "I knew Dennis wouldn't let you win that easily. I made a backup while we were in the library last time." Samuel stared at her, overwhelmed. "You saved me," he whispered.
Layla chuckled. You saved yourself, Samuel. I just made sure you had the chance to prove it. For the next 7 hours, Samuel and Layla worked non-stop. Layla helped him install and configure everything on her laptop, while Samuel rewrote critical parts of the AI model. Lines of code filled the screen. Errors popped up. They fixed them. By 4 a.m., Samuel collapsed back in his chair. The AI was working. It wasn't perfect, but it was good enough. Layla stretched, yawning. Told you we could do it. Samuel looked at her, exhaustion and gratitude written all over his face.
Layla, I don't even know how to thank you. She smirked. Win, that's how you thank me. Samuel turned to the screen, his heart pounding. Dennis thought he had won. But Samuel wasn't going down that easily. Tomorrow, he would step onto that stage. And this time, Dennis couldn't stop him. The next morning, Samuel sat in the auditorium, his hands tightly gripping Layla's laptop. The National AI Challenge was about to begin, and his heart was racing. He took a deep breath. This was it. After everything Dennis had done, destroying his laptop, humiliating him, trying to strip him of this chance, Samuel was still here. And he was ready. Layla nudged him. You got this, she whispered. Samuel nodded, though his palms were sweaty. The large projector screen displayed the names of the participants. Hilford University's name was up there. His name was up there. Dennis sat a few rows behind him, arms crossed, his face twisted in pure disbelief. He had ruined Samuel's laptop. He had done everything to ensure that Samuel wouldn't compete. And yet, Samuel was still here. How? Dennis muttered under his breath, glaring at Layla, who smirked as if she had heard him. The competition had 10 participants, each representing a top university. One by one, students went up to present their AI models, voice recognition software, cybersecurity tools, financial forecasting systems. Then it was Samuel's turn. As he stepped onto the stage, he felt every eye in the room on him. His hands trembled as he placed Layla's laptop on the podium and connected it to the projector. He cleared his throat. Good morning, judges, professors, and fellow participants. My name is Samuel Lucas, and today I will be presenting my AI model, Emotion Sense. A murmur spread through the crowd. Samuel clicked a button, and the screen lit up with an interactive interface. A real-time emotion detection system appeared, showing human faces with expressions labeled happy, sad, anxious, excited, and neutral. My AI is designed to read human emotions based on facial expressions, Samuel explained. This technology can be used in therapy, customer service, and even crime detection to analyze behavior and prevent misunderstandings. The judges leaned forward, intrigued. Samuel continued. Unlike other AI models, Emotion Sense doesn't just read facial expressions, it learns from them. The more data it gathers, the smarter it gets. He turned to the panel of judges. Would any of you like to try? One of the judges, a stern-looking professor, raised an eyebrow and stepped forward. All right. Samuel clicked a button, activating the camera. The AI scanned the professor's face and displayed emotion detected, neutral. The judge nodded approvingly. Interesting, but what if I change my expression? He smiled. The AI updated instantly. Emotion detected, happy. The room gasped. Samuel clicked another feature. It can also predict emotions. If the professor continues smiling for the next few seconds, the system will predict a shift to excited. Sure enough, after a few moments, the AI updated. Prediction, 65% chance of excitement. The crowd erupted into applause. Samuel's chest swelled with pride. For the first time in years, people were seeing him for who he really was, not the poor boy, not the outcast, not the scholarship student, but a genius. As Samuel wrapped up, one of the judges leaned forward. Mr. Lucas, this is an exceptional project, but I have to ask, did you develop this entirely on your own? Samuel hesitated. He knew he had Layla's support, but the AI model had been his creation. Yes, he said confidently. I started this project months ago. Everything you see here is my work. The judges nodded, impressed. Your model has real-world applications. We would like to introduce you to investors who might be interested in funding your work. Samuel's heart stopped. Investors? The audience burst into applause again. Layla stood at the back, arms crossed, smirking. Dennis, however, looked like he had swallowed a lemon. His plan had failed. Samuel had not only competed, he had won the admiration of everyone in the room. And worst of all, Samuel had done it with Dennis watching. As Samuel stepped off the stage, students rushed toward him. "That was incredible, man. Your AI model is next level. You're seriously a genius." He felt overwhelmed. He wasn't used to this, people actually respecting him. Dennis, standing at the far end of the hall, clenched his fists. He had expected Samuel to fail. He had wanted Samuel to fail. Instead, Samuel had shined brighter than ever. Dennis turned away, his jaw tight. This wasn't over. Not yet. And for the first time, he felt like he truly belonged at Hillford University.
The moment he walked into the room, his mother, Mrs. Lucy, jumped up from the couch and threw her arms around him. "You did it, Samuel," she said, hugging him tightly. "I watched the live stream. I couldn't stop crying. I always knew you were special." Samuel smiled, hugging her back. "Thanks, Mom. I couldn't have done it without you." She cupped his face, tears in her eyes. "No, Samuel. You did this. You proved to them all that you deserve to be here. No one can take that from you." Samuel swallowed the lump in his throat. She had always believed in him, even when he hadn't believed in himself. As she pulled away, she noticed the laptop on the table. "That's not yours, is it?" Samuel shook his head. "No, it's Layla's. She helped me when Dennis—" He trailed off, shaking his head. Mrs. Lucy frowned. "That boy again?" Samuel sighed. "Yeah, he destroyed my laptop, tried to ruin my chances. But Layla, she saved me." Mrs. Lucy smiled softly. "She's a good friend then." "The best." Later that night, Samuel met Layla at a quiet spot outside campus, a small snack shop they had started visiting together. She was already sitting at a table scrolling through her phone when he arrived. As soon as she saw him, she smirked. "Look at you. Hillford University's rising genius." Samuel chuckled, shaking his head. "I owe you, Layla. I mean it." Layla raised an eyebrow. "I don't recall writing your code." Samuel smiled. "No, but you believed in me when no one else did, and you saved my project. I don't know how to thank you." Layla leaned back, sipping her coffee. "You already did." Samuel frowned. "How?" She smirked. "You won." Samuel laughed, shaking his head. "I mean it, Layla. I really appreciate our friendship." Layla's expression softened. "Me too, Samuel." There was a moment of comfortable silence between them before she added, "But I have a feeling this isn't over." Samuel's smile faded. He knew exactly what she meant. Dennis wouldn't let this go. And they were right. Dennis paced angrily in his cozy off-campus apartment, fists clenched. His friends sat on his bed, watching him warily. "I don't get it," one of them muttered. How did Samuel still manage to compete? Dennis gritted his teeth. Because of that girl, Layla. She's the reason he didn't fail. His friend scoffed. "Does it even matter? He won, dude. It's over." Dennis stopped pacing and turned to glare at him. "No, it's not over." His friends exchanged nervous glances. Dennis wasn't just angry. He was furious. Samuel was supposed to be nothing, but now, the professors respected him. The judges wanted to introduce him to investors. Students were suddenly treating him like he mattered. Dennis couldn't allow that. "I'm going to destroy him, bring him back down where he belongs," Dennis said coldly. His friend hesitated. "How?" Dennis smirked. "Simple. We ruin his reputation." The next morning, Samuel was walking across campus when he noticed whispers and side glances from students. At first, he thought he was imagining it. But then, a group of students burst into laughter as he walked by. "What's going on?" Samuel muttered to himself. Layla met him outside the lecture hall, arms crossed. "Something's wrong. she said immediately. "Everyone's talking about you." Samuel frowned. "Talking about what?" She pulled out her phone and showed him a university blog post. The headline made his blood run cold. "Samuel Lucas, AI genius or master thief?" Samuel's heart pounded as he scanned the article. It claimed that his AI project wasn't actually his, that he had stolen the model from another student in a previous competition and rebranded it as his own. Fake screenshots of altered code were included, making it look like he had copied someone else's work.
Samuel felt like the ground had disappeared beneath his feet. "No," he whispered. This is a lie." Layla's jaw tightened. "I know." Samuel gritted his teeth. "Dennis." Layla nodded. "Who else?" Anger burned in Samuel's chest. After everything Dennis had done, now he was trying to destroy his name completely. Layla placed a firm hand on his shoulder. "We'll fix this, Samuel." Samuel looked at her. "How? Everyone already believes it." Layla smirked. "They won't for long. I'm going to prove you're innocent." Samuel swallowed hard. "How?" Layla's eyes gleamed with determination. "I have connections, and I know how to dig up the truth. Dennis made a mistake. He thinks he's untouchable, but this time..." She leaned in. "I'm taking him down." Samuel sat in the dean's office, his fingers tightly clasped together. Across the desk, Professor Ethan and two university officials whispered among themselves, exchanging glances that made Samuel's stomach twist. "Samuel," the dean finally said, adjusting his glasses, "the allegations against you are serious." Samuel's jaw clenched. "They're false. I didn't steal my AI project." The dean sighed. "Regardless, the university has to conduct an investigation. Until then, we are considering revoking your victory in the AI competition." Samuel's heart sank. Revoking his victory? After everything he had fought for? "That's not fair," he argued. "There's no proof that I stole anything, just a fake blog post." Professor Ethan cleared his throat. "The issue, Samuel, is that Dennis's father has filed an official complaint. He claims that his company had an AI project similar to yours 2 years ago. He's demanding a review." Samuel's blood boiled. Dennis's father. So that's why this was happening. Dennis wasn't acting alone. His father was pulling strings behind the scenes, using his influence to crush Samuel completely. Samuel stood up. "This is corruption, and you all know it." The dean gave him a tired look. "We'll be in touch with our decision." Samuel clenched his fists and walked out, rage burning inside him. Dennis was trying to destroy everything he had worked for. And worse, the school was letting him do it. Meanwhile, across campus, Layla sat in a dimly lit library corner, typing furiously on her laptop. Her fingers moved with deadly precision, navigating through encrypted files and databases like she had done this 1,000 times before. She wasn't just looking for proof of Samuel's innocence. She was looking for everything. And she was getting close. Layla smirked. Dennis made a mistake. And soon, he was going to pay for it. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen. A message from her father. "Father, how's the progress?" "Layla, almost there. I told you I could do it. Dennis's father is dirtier than we thought. Father, expose it all." Layla's smirk widened. Unknown to everyone, Layla wasn't just an ordinary student. She was a computer genius. She wasn't just here for Samuel. She was Layla Williams, daughter of Richard Williams, one of the wealthiest philanthropists in the world. And she had been sent to Hilford University for one purpose: to expose corruption. For years, her father had been fighting against elite schools that allowed rich families to control who succeeded and who failed. Hilford was one of the worst offenders, and Dennis's father was at the center of it all. Layla had transferred to gather evidence, and now, she had everything she needed. Layla's fingers flew over the keyboard as she hacked into the university's administrative records. One file caught her attention. She clicked it. Her eyes widened. This wasn't just about Samuel. Dennis's father had been paying the school to cover up his son's crimes for years. Expelled students, changed grades, erased misconduct reports. All of it linked back to the dean's office. Layla's hands trembled. This was bigger than she thought. She grabbed her phone and called Samuel. "Samuel," she said, "meet me now. We're taking them down." Later that evening, Samuel and Layla sat across from Professor Ethan in his office. Samuel was still angry, still frustrated, but Layla, she was calm. Too calm. Layla slid a USB drive onto the desk. "You might want to watch this." Professor Ethan frowned but plugged it into his laptop. The screen flickered to life, showing leaked emails, financial records, and hidden reports. Samuel's eyes widened as he read the words on the screen. Bribery transactions from Dennis's father to the university, altered academic records, expelled students whose files were erased, and then a video file. Layla clicked play. It was Dennis. His voice came through the speakers, loud and clear. "My dad owns this school. You really think they'll believe some scholarship loser over me?" Silence filled the office. Professor Ethan's face turned pale. Layla leaned forward, her voice dangerously low. "Do you know what this means?" Professor Ethan nodded slowly. "If this gets out, the dean, Dennis, his father, they're finished," Layla said. Samuel watched as Professor Ethan removed his glasses, rubbing his forehead. Then, the professor smiled. "It's time for justice." The next morning, Hilford University woke up to a scandal that no one saw coming. The front page of the university news site had a bold, flashing headline, "Exposed: the bribery and corruption behind Hilford University." Samuel sat in the cafeteria, watching as students around him whispered and gasped, their eyes glued to their phones. Some looked shocked, others furious. Across from him, Layla sat with a smug grin, sipping her coffee. "You're welcome," she muttered. Samuel let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. "It's really happening, isn't it?" Layla nodded. "Oh, it's happening." And it was. The evidence they had gathered had been sent to the local press, the education board, and the university's biggest sponsors. Hilford University was officially under investigation. And Dennis? He had no idea his entire world was about to come crashing down. Dennis strolled into campus that morning, still basking in the illusion that he had won. He expected to see students treating Samuel like an outcast again. He expected the university to revoke Samuel's AI victory. He expected things to go back to the way they were. Instead, everyone was staring at him. And not in a good way. Some were murmuring, others were outright glaring. His usual group of friends, gone. Dennis frowned. What the hell is going on? Then he saw it. On the large digital screen in the campus courtyard, the headline flashed across, "Leaked emails, expose bribery scheme involving Dennis Marshall's father." Dennis froze. His stomach dropped. His father's name, his name. And below that, a video clip of himself. A group of students burst into laughter, mocking him. "Not so powerful now, huh, Dennis?" one of them called out. Dennis's face turned red. "Shut up," he snapped, his voice shaking. He whipped out his phone to call his father. No answer. He called again. Nothing. And then a campus security officer approached. "Dennis Marshall," the officer said. "You need to come with me. The dean wants to see you." Dennis's heart pounded. This couldn't be happening. Meanwhile, in the university's boardroom, things were falling apart for Dennis's father. The university's biggest sponsors, furious at the corruption scandal, had pulled his funding. The education board had launched a full investigation into bribery at Hilford, and the authorities were already preparing legal charges against Dennis's father. "This is ridiculous," Mr. Marshall shouted, slamming his fist on the table. "I have given this school millions in funding. You can't do this to me." The board chairman stared at him coldly. "The law doesn't care about your money, Mr. Marshall." A heavy fine was placed on him for corruption, bribery, and illegal interference in school affairs. And just like that, Dennis's father was finished. And so was Dennis. The verdict came quickly. He was officially expelled from Hilford University. His father withdrew financial support from the school, cutting ties completely.
Dennis stood outside the dean's office, his face pale, his hands shaking. Expelled, humiliated. Everything he had ever known, gone. Even his friends now avoided him. When the news broke that Samuel had been framed, the university fully reinstated his AI competition victory. He walked through campus, and this time, people smiled at him. Some even came up to shake his hand. "Congrats, man. You really deserved that win. Hey, Samuel, I'm sorry for believing those rumors." "Dude, you're a legend!" Samuel barely knew how to respond. For years, he had been treated like an outsider. And now, he was finally being seen for who he truly was. At the end of the day, as he packed up his laptop in the library, Layla sat across from him, grinning. "You did it," she said. Samuel chuckled. "We did it." Layla shrugged. "Well, yeah, but you're the one who proved to the world how brilliant you are." Samuel smiled. "Layla, who are you really?" Layla hesitated for a moment, then smirked. "Let's just say I had my own mission at Hilford." Samuel tilted his head. "What happens now?" Layla stood up, stretching. "Now, the university is going to need new leadership. Things are finally going to change." And she was right. In the weeks that followed, Hilford University underwent major changes. The corrupt dean was fired. A new leadership team was brought in to ensure fairness and integrity. Stricter policies were put in place to protect scholarship students and prevent future corruption. Samuel was offered an advanced research position in AI development. For the first time in years, Hilford felt different. And as Samuel looked around, he realized he finally belonged here. About a week after the cleansing, Samuel sat in the university's research lab, staring at an email on his laptop screen. His hands trembled as he read it again, just to make sure he wasn't dreaming. "Congratulations, Samuel Lucas. You have been selected for the Global AI Fellowship Program at the International Institute of Artificial Intelligence." His heart was beating very fast. His mother would be so proud. He did it. The Global AI Fellowship was one of the most prestigious research programs in the world. Only a handful of students were selected every year, and he was one of them. This was it. His moment. Samuel let out a shaky breath, a smile slowly spreading across his face. For the first time in his life, he felt like he was exactly where he was meant to be. Later that evening, Samuel found Layla waiting for him at their usual spot outside campus, the quiet coffee shop where they had spent so many hours talking. She had her hands tucked into the pockets of her leather jacket, her expression unreadable. "I saw your message, what good news," she said as he sat down. "You're going international, genius." Samuel chuckled, still overwhelmed. "I still can't believe it." Layla smirked. "Believe it. You earned it." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, before Samuel looked at her closely. "You're leaving, aren't you?" he asked. Layla nodded slowly. "Yeah, my work here is done." Samuel sighed. "I figured." She leaned forward, resting her elbows on the table. "There's something I need to tell you before I go." Samuel tilted his head. "I already know, Layla." Layla blinked. "You do?" Samuel smiled. "You were never just a normal transfer student. I knew from the moment you hacked into my corrupted files like it was child's play. You were too smart, too resourceful, too different." Layla let out a small laugh. "And you never said anything?" Samuel shrugged. "I figured if you wanted me to know, you'd tell me in your own time." Layla shook her head, clearly impressed. "You're sharper than I thought, Samuel." She sighed, then finally said it. "My real name is Layla Williams. My father is Richard Williams, the billionaire philanthropist. He sent me to Hilford to expose the corruption and take down people like Dennis's father." Samuel stared at her for a long moment before he chuckled. "I should have known. A regular student wouldn't have taken down an entire corrupt university system in under a year." Layla grinned. "What can I say? I like efficiency." Samuel shook his head, smiling. "I'm grateful that our paths crossed, Layla. God had a plan." Her expression softened. "Yeah, I think so too." As they stepped outside the cafe,
Layla turned to Samuel, a rare look of emotion in her eyes. "Listen, Samuel," she said. "You're about to step into a much bigger world. People are going to try to control you, to take credit for your work, to use your talent for their own gain." Samuel nodded, listening carefully. "Don't let them," she continued. "No matter what happens, stand for what is right, even when it's hard." Samuel swallowed the lump in his throat. "I will." Layla gave him a long look before she pulled him into a hug. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then, as they pulled apart, Samuel smiled. "I'll find you again, Layla," he said. "One day, when I'm worthy of you." Layla raised an eyebrow. "Worthy of me?" Samuel chuckled. "You took down an entire corrupt system. I have some catching up to do." Layla laughed. "You better hurry up then. I won't wait forever." He grinned. "I won't make you wait too long." Layla gave him one last smile before she turned and walked away. Samuel watched her go, feeling both grateful and hopeful. He had a future ahead of him, and one day, when the time was right, he would find her again. Samuel stood at the airport terminal, his backpack slung over one shoulder, his passport in his hand. Beside him, Mrs. Lucy held his hands tightly, her eyes filled with pride and emotion. "You've come so far, Samuel," she said, her voice slightly trembling. "I always knew you would. But now you're going to change the world." Samuel swallowed hard, trying to keep himself together. "I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you, Mom." Mrs. Lucy cupped his face, her smile warm despite the tears in her eyes. "No, Samuel, you did this. Your hard work, your strength, your heart. This was all you." Samuel exhaled shakily. "I'll make you proud." "You already have," she whispered. She pulled him into a tight hug, holding on to him like she wasn't ready to let go. And for a brief moment, Samuel felt like a child again, safe in his mother's arms. But this time he was no longer the scared boy who doubted himself. He was a man stepping into his future. The final boarding call echoed through the terminal. Mrs. Lucy wiped her tears quickly and nodded firmly. "Go, Samuel. It's time." Samuel took a deep breath and stepped toward the departure gate, turning back one last time. Mrs. Lucy smiled through her tears and waved. Samuel smiled back. And then, he was gone. A familiar voice stopped him. "Leaving without saying goodbye?" Samuel turned around. Dennis. Samuel hadn't seen Dennis since the day he was expelled. He had assumed Dennis had left Hilford for good after his father's downfall. But standing before him now, Dennis looked different. He no longer had that arrogant smirk, no longer walked with that air of superiority. He just looked lost. "I heard you got into that AI fellowship," Dennis said, stuffing his hands into his pockets. "Congrats, I guess." Samuel nodded cautiously. "Thanks." There was a long silence before Dennis spoke again. "I don't expect you to care," he muttered, "but I wanted to say that I get it now." Samuel frowned. "Get what?" Dennis let out a bitter laugh. "Why I was the way I was, why I hated you so much. You have always been better than I am." Samuel didn't respond, letting him continue. "My dad, he was obsessed with power, reputation, success. It was never about me. It was about the family name. He pushed me so hard, forced me to always win, no matter the means, good or bad, because if I didn't, I wasn't good enough for him." He looked away, his jaw clenched. "The truth is, I was jealous of you, Samuel." Samuel's eyes widened slightly, but he stayed silent. Dennis sighed. "You had something I never had, the freedom to be yourself. You worked hard because you wanted to. I only ever did things because I was terrified of disappointing my father." His voice lowered. "And now, I've lost everything. My dad won't even look at me. He says I failed him." Samuel felt an unexpected wave of empathy. For years he had seen Dennis as a monster, the rich boy who tried to ruin his life. But standing before him now, Dennis wasn't a monster. He was just a broken boy who had spent his entire life being controlled. Samuel took a deep breath. You did a lot of horrible things to me, Dennis. Dennis nodded, ashamed. I know. Samuel crossed his arms, but I'm not going to hate you forever. Dennis looked up, surprised. I'm choosing to forgive you, Samuel said simply, not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. Dennis swallowed hard.
You're serious? Samuel nodded. Dennis let out a shaky breath, rubbing his face. I don't know what to say. Samuel gave him a small, knowing smile. Try to be better. That's a good start. Dennis nodded slowly, taking in the words. Where are you going now? Samuel asked. Dennis shrugged. No idea. My dad's cut me off, and he isn't as rich or influential anymore. I guess I'll have to figure things out on my own. Samuel hesitated before reaching into his backpack. He pulled out a small business card and handed it to Dennis. What's this? Dennis frowned. My mentor from the AI competition. He helps students restart their careers after bad choices. Give him a call. Dennis stared at the card, then back at Samuel. You really mean it, huh? This whole forgiveness thing? Samuel smiled. Yeah, I do. Dennis exhaled, shaking his head in disbelief. You're a better man than I'll ever be, Samuel. Samuel chuckled. We all get a second chance, Dennis. What matters is what you do with it. Dennis stared at the card for a long moment before nodding. Thanks, he said softly. Samuel nodded back, and without another word, he turned and walked toward the gate. This time, as he stepped forward, he felt lighter. Months later, Samuel stood in a state-of-the-art research facility in London, surrounded by some of the greatest AI minds in the world. He had finally made it. His AI research had already gained global attention, and investors were interested in funding his projects. But through it all, he never forgot Layla's words. No matter what happens, stand for what is right. It had been more than a year since Layla left Hilford. Samuel hadn't seen her since. And if he was being honest, he had missed her greatly. She had been one of the most important people in his life, and even though she was gone, he still carried her lessons, her fire, her unwavering belief in him. One day, as he was setting up a new AI model, he received a message on his phone. Layla, you're late, genius. I've been waiting. Samuel smirked. He had promised to find her again. And now? He was ready. Samuel's journey shows the power of perseverance, hard work, and integrity. Dennis's downfall highlights how pressure and privilege can sometimes lead to a misguided path, but redemption is always possible. Layla's role reminds us that sometimes the right people enter our lives at the right time to push us toward greatness. And most importantly, no matter how difficult the path may seem, stand for what is right.